Hello friends, and welcome back to the Mothership. Today we are going to take a big old brisket flat, corn it for a week, and then come out on the other side and smoke it down for a delicious corned beef brisket. Let's get started. First things first, we need to get ourselves a nice pickling mix. To do so, I'm going to start with some mustard seeds, some whole black peppercorns, some coriander, some allspice, some bay leaves, some crushed red pepper, some cloves, and some ginger. And this should probably be enough for about our 5-pound brisket. To mix together our brine, we are going to start with about a cup of kosher salt. Adding to that about a half a cup of brown sugar, our curing salt number 1, some smashed garlic cloves, all of our pickling spices, and to top it off, about 4 cups of water. And we want to get that salt and that sugar completely mixy-mixy. If you are so inclined, you could heat this up. That would allow it to mix a little bit easier, but I think we'll be fine. Perfect. Now let's corn our beef. Here is our brisket flat. Mine's about 5 pounds, which is kind of the standard I think you're going to find. If you are wondering why it is called corned beef, well, I did too. And apparently the original term for big rock salt that looked like the size of corns was called corn. So, fun fact. Now what we're going to do is get our brisket in a big pan, and we're just going to pour our curing liquid all over it. You can see a little bit of it is sticking out. That's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep moving it every couple of days. Obviously, you're going to want a really big container, so what I'm going to do is actually put this on a pan so that I don't make a mess when I'm moving it around. I'm going to cover it with saran wrap, and we're just going to, like I said, keep moving it to make sure all of the liquid gets in there. So every day or so, I'm just going to flip the meat over inside of our brining liquid, and this is just going to go in the fridge for between 5 to 10 days. Obviously, more time in the brine is going to get more of a brine taste, more salt, more cure. Less time in the brine is going to give it less salt, less cure. So I usually aim for the medium, which is about 7 days. Yeah, come back in 7 days, we'll cook this sucker off. Alright guys, it has been 1 week, and unlike the bare naked ladies, I have been looking at this constantly since I put it in the water, just kind of flipping it over and over and making sure that everything gets nice and brined. But it's time to take our brisket out, and the first thing we want to do is rinse off all the excess brine off the exterior completely. We want to make sure that none of this liquid is on here. But guys, it smells really, really good. I think it's going to be really, really tasty. It looks nice and brine, but let's get it rinsed off. One nice bath later, and this is ready to get a nice little trim. We got some fat I'm going to take off on this side. You probably could have done this before we brined it, but doing it after is fine too. There's a little bit of gross stuff I'm going to pull off right here. This is a little thin, so I'm just going to round this off a little bit, just like so. Going to save that, cook that up myself. There's a little bit of separation here, and this is actually, I'm going to cook it up, which kind of stinks because this is going to have a lot of pooling. But what can you do? I'm just going to have to let it go. Over here is a little thin, so I'm going to pull that off as well. When you're cooking these big brisket flats that are pre-trimmed, they kind of just, I don't know what they do. Somebody's just hacking things away, and they make some nonsensical decisions. It could be that's how it came from the plant, but I think they just went a little crazy with their trimming sometimes. But overall, this looks okay to me. You know, you can take off a whole bunch of this junk if you want. I think a lot of it's just going to come off in the cook, but I'll grab some of this silver skin. Now that I have her trimmed down, I'm just going to give her a light coating of coarse black pepper. Followed by some garlic powder. Don't need to add any salt, guys, obviously, because we have plenty of salt from the brine. Repeat it on the meat side. And of course, make sure we get the sides. Perfect. Now, just like all of my pellet grill cooks, I'm going to get this onto the smoker starting at 180 degrees, fat side down on the top shelf if I can make it. And we're going to run it like that for a couple hours, just to get as much smoke buildup on there as we can, get that bark really going. Then we can bump it up to a working temperature. But for now, get my smoker at 180 degrees and get this on fat side down, or whichever direction your heat source is, have your fattiest part facing that. We're about 3 hours into this cook, and at this point I'm going to do 2 things. Number 1, I'm just going to give it a little spritz down with some light beer. Be nice to use Guinness because this is kind of a St. Patrick's Day meal, but I don't think that would taste very good. And I'm also going to bump the temp up to a working temperature of about 225. We're gonna let it keep doing its thing until we hit a stall, and then we'll probably wrap it. But at this point, just keep monitoring it, spritzing it every half an hour, 45 minutes, that kind of thing, or when it looks dry. Just make sure that your bark has set before you begin spritzing. This hunk of meat has been on for about 6 hours, and it is definitely stalled, which means it is time to take this off, put it in some paper, give it a little bit of tallow, and then wrap it up, bump this sucker up to 250, and let it run until it probes nice and tender. So, let's get it wrapped up, back on the smoker. Okay, 10-hour long cook, pulled it off, put it into a nice warm toaster oven for a couple hours just to let everything come back together. And now, guys, it is time to cut this sucker open. Grains are going about this way, so we're going to slice into it just like so. Gonna get some of the edge pieces off so we can see what the middle looks like. And ooh, it looks nice and cured and delicious. Oh my goodness, guys. That right there is a cured piece of corned beef. Looks perfect. I want to see what the middle looks like here. Make sure everything is cured all the way through. Oh yeah, perfect. Perfectly perfect. Look at that. Now obviously this is quite a bit of work to make your own St. Patrick's Day meal, but you know what, a couple of Guinnesses and some time and you can make something absolutely fantastic. And you know what, just looking at what we cut off here, I mean, that is perfect. Look at the color on there. It's perfectly cured. It looks fantastic. It's a really well-cooked brisket. It's gonna be really good to eat. But before we get started with that, guys, this whole cook is part of a St. Patrick's Day collaboration. There's going to be a hashtag down below. Click on that and you'll see a whole bunch of other really good channels putting out some really good content. Check them out, guys, if you're interested in finding some other really good content creators out there. Now, while we're talking about YouTube, guys, if you guys could do me a huge favor and give me a like, comment, subscribe, let me know down below what you're cooking. Every time I see that number go up, it makes me feel super warm and fuzzy inside and know that I'm not just shouting into the void of YouTube and lets the algorithm know that it should show my video to more people. But most importantly, let's see how we did here, guys. So we took our brisket flat, made our own corning solution, and brined this sucker for about a week. And then on the other side, rinsed it off, threw it onto the smoker, did a Texas-style brisket, and then smoked it up like we would do every other brisket. On the other side, we have this very beautiful, very lovely looking brisket, and it's time for the old-fashioned chomp, guys. I am starving. I've been waiting all day. This Guinness is not drinking itself, and I'm ready to get some food in my belly. So, let's give the old-fashioned chomp. Honestly, if you go out and you buy a store-brined corned beef, what you're getting on the other side is going to be overly salty. It's going to have no flavor to it. It doesn't have any sweetness. It's just going to be a really salty hunk of meat. Trust me, I've bought plenty of them over the years. This is absolutely perfect. It's not too salty, has a really, really good flavor to it. Guys, this is really not that difficult to do on your own. And I promise you, if you're not a big fan of corned meat, you're really gonna like this one. Now, what we like to do on the other side of this is, you know, you can throw it on sandwiches, all the usual stuff, but you can also cut it up and make some corned beef hash, which is probably what we're gonna do with a lot of this brisket. But guys, absolutely give this one a try. I'm gonna cut another piece while we're talking here because it is really, really yummy. And again, I am still starving. You guys should absolutely give this one a try. If you guys are not a huge fan of Irish food, this one might change your mind. It's a little bit different than just boiling it, but you know what? I'm not a huge fan of boiled meat anyway. This is a good choice, guys. Let me know down below what you guys do for St. Patrick's Day. Are you big fans of corned beef? So up here in the Boston area, St. Patrick's Day is a big deal. I'm not Irish, but I do enjoy joining along, drinking a good Guinness, eating some good food. Guys, have a fantastic St. Patrick's Day. Drink responsibly, or not, who cares? But have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next UFO barbecue. Bye-bye.